Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fifth episode of Bridges of Hope Live. Bridges of Hope Live is brought to you by Bridges of Hope Philippines, the leading, fastest growing, and most professional drug and alcohol and gambling rehabilitation center in the Philippines. Bridges of Hope has several branches across the country, each of them manned by its own professionally and internationally credentialed program director. Now, Bridges of Hope thought it would be a great idea to broadcast educational programs such as this in the guise of Bridges of Hope Live so that we can educate the public about addiction detection, addiction treatment, recovery, and of course, mental health in general. In the Philippines, there is a general preconception that drug, alcohol, and gambling rehabilitation centers, and especially behavioral disorder treatment facilities, are they look like prisons in the minds of many Filipinos. Masikip, madumi, natutulog sila sa sahig. These are some of the myths that we at Bridges of Hope would like to address. There is no there is no limit to the improvements that can be made in private rehabilitation in the Philippines. We are trying our best not just to educate the public, but to uplift the standards of private addiction recovery in the country. Now, it has to be said that Bridges of Hope is a private, incorporated entity, but we are also here for a very important public service. While the general public does not really deal with addiction until it affects them personally, we want to touch them before it becomes an issue for them personally. People do not look for drug addiction treatment, alcohol treatment, gambling treatment, or behavioral disorder treatment like, such as depression, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder. Families do not look for treatment or do not even listen to articles or shows about these kinds of treatments until it affects them personally. They're not interested in learning about it until someone close to them is afflicted with addiction or has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or depression or similar mental issues. October is National Mental Health Month in the Philippines, and we thought it very appropriate to assemble a program um, to teach our audience in Manila, across the Philippines, and also internationally that private professional addiction rehabilitation exists in the Philippines, and it's a very professional, disciplined approach that we take here at Bridges of Hope. And we'd like very much to share our knowledge, our experience with everybody listening today. And I hope you enjoy the show. We have as a special guest today a celebrity of sorts in the local field of mental health. She is a psychiatrist who has been interviewed in 1,001 TV and radio programs. But to us, she is simply our resident psychiatrist whom we work with on a daily basis. She is, of course, very well respected, and she has been our partner in Bridges of Hope to help so many people dealing with addiction and other mental issues. She has been our partner helping families to learn about addiction and its treatment and to help recover. When we treat someone with addiction, we're not just treating that individual, we have to treat the entire family. So our resident psychiatrist um, is none other than Dr. Bernadette Manalo. And I hope she chimes in right now because I already introduced her. Well, if she's not yet ready, I'll just keep talking. So Doctora Bernadette Manalo, we call her Doctora Babes. As a psychiatrist, she is our partner with the Bridges of Hope program department and of course all our medical staff to diagnose, treat, and of course help in the path of recovery of all our residents. While a lot of people think that we regard them as patients, even if they are, we actually call them residents because all Bridges of Hope facilities are residential facilities, meaning all our all of the people you see stay with us and live with us. We eat together and we live together, so we get to know each other very well. So we consider them family. And I'm so relieved to see you here, Doctora Babes Manalo, the resident psychiatrist of Bridges of Hope. Um, Doctora, thank you for joining us today. I don't think Doctora can hear me. Doctora, thank you for joining us today. Hi, Doctora. Thank you for joining us today. So while we're waiting, I guess we're having some audio issues with Doctora.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm not so sure if Dean, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine,
Uh,
Doctora.
yeah, but I couldn't hear you. But anyhow, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. At uh, sana nasa mabuting kalagayan kayo lahat. At itong um, meeting natin or parang kamustahan lang on what we are going to do during this pandemic.
Okay. Well, Doctora, can you hear me now? Can you hear me okay? Oh no, how do I toss you a question? To start the ball rolling, Doctora, I wanted to ask you, since it's National Mental Health Month in the Philippines, I wanted to ask you sana po, ano po yung definition ninyo ng mental health?
I can't hear you.
Hello, Doctora,
Not
can you
yet.
hear me now? Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
What is mental health?
There you go.
Actually, no, the mental health carries a lot of um, we call that situations, no. Mental health includes yung ating emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It also affects how we think, how we act. Tapos, it also helps us handle stress, relate to other people, and also make choices. Very important ang mental health in the sense that um, every stage of our life, no, mental health is very important. Even when you're still a child, then going up into adolescent, childhood, and then adulthood, napaka-importante talaga ang mental health. So, mental health is something wherein you relate, no? Kung meron physical health, yung tinatawag natin na body, ang body health natin, we call it a somatic, no? Or the body functions. We also have the mental health. And there's connections between the mind and the body. So when the mind thinks, the body feels. So pag sinabi ni mind na, oh, you're happy. So ang body will connect it with symptoms like you are very lively, you are very happy. So if that connection is lost, then that's the time that may mararamdaman kayo o may mga problema na mangyayari.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Doctora? Can you hear me, Doctora?
I can still hear you, but we can type so. So I will know the questions. Um, when you say you are mentally healthy, that means to say that there is a good connection between what your mind thinks and what your body feels. So there's always there's always the feeling na when you wake up in the morning, you feel a lot better, or pag ikaw ay maayos ang kalagayan mo, you would tell yourself, okay, I start the day with a very positive attitude. Mahirap kasi no, pag sinasabi mo, mentally healthy ka ba? Of course, we do not judge other people. But then, we always say na being mentally healthy is actually important, lalo na ngayong COVID times, no? How do we know if someone is well mentally, or is it the same as that of having a physical disease? I would always say na napaka-importante na magkakaroon ka ng good mind. Now, when you have a physical disease, or like for example, meron kang asthma, hypertension, parang alam mo na kung paano i-deal with yon. But when you say a mental illness, it connotes a lot of situations. Kung titingnan natin ang kaibahan, meron din kasing family history yung mental illness, meron din history pag ikaw ay may hypertension or diabetes. So, importante din that there is there is a connection between
Okay.
a good mind and a healthy body also. So, ang importante lang dito is that whether you have mental illness or whether you have a physical problem, the body will also be affected with any of problem with any of whether it is sa katawan mo o sa isip mo.
Okay. Thank you for that, Doctora. A common question that I'm always asked is, during pandemics such as now, which is unprecedented in our time, can we also expect an increase in mental health issues related
Boss, you can
to
type it
addiction?
so I can see.
Is that, can you hear me, Doctora? Can you hear me, Doctora?
Um, if there's a problem, if there is a problem with the mental capacity of a person, then that means to say na ang katawan niya rin will also have problems. So, nakita ko din dito, no, may mga pag-aaral kasi, no, na there are actually 5 major categories of mental illness. At ang nakalagay doon, we have anxiety disorders, meron tayong mood problems, no? Meron schizophrenia, psychotic disorders, dementia, tsaka eating disorders. So, in studies that there's around 1 in 7 people globally, that is about 11 to 18% that have one or more mental or substance use disorders. At saka globally daw, based on studies, sa um, that this means that around 1 billion people in 2017 experienced one episode. The largest number of people had an anxiety disorder, and it was estimated about 4% of the population.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Well, I'd like to say hi first to some people who are watching us right now. We have Ma'am Jeng from DepEd Paranaque talking to us now. Hi, Miss Jeng. Oh, my friend Andrew Waters from Bataan is also listening to us now. We're trying to work on our audio issues as we go along. Andrew, thank you for tuning in. Um, Thank you, Tita Lisa from Bridges of Hope, Angeles. Hello there. Fasi Ching from Bridges of Hope, Rizal. Thank you for always supporting my efforts to promote Bridges of Hope. Jamie from Cebu. Hello. Thank you so much. Kuya Boyet, our program director from Bridges of Hope, Rizal, is here too.
Hello.
Chairman, Chairman Ope Karating is also listening. Nurse M. Mendoza, hello. Of course, my family, Chu Calleja, is also listening. Miss Duo Fu, thank you for your question. I will answer it very briefly, Miss Duo Fu. In the Philippines, it is actually required that anyone undergoing residential treatment in a rehab center needs a court order. However, we have a way to address that because it's a matter of public record once you issue a court order. So please give us a call and we can discuss with you the legalities of sending someone to rehab who is not willing to enter rehab. So please give us a call. We would be glad to entertain your questions. Um, Hello, Kuya Gimo. Can you hear me fine? Okay. So Kuya Gimo cannot hear me either.
I can.
Oh, there
Hello?
you
Hi.
are. I didn't know you
Hi,
could hear
Gimo.
me.
Hi, Doc.
Hi. I
Hello.
can't hear Boss Dean.
Okay, I will turn things over first. Doctora, don't worry. We're working on the audio issues as best we can. All right.
Kill the connection.
Now, what happens, Doctora? What are the implications of not taking care of one's mental health? What happens, Doctora, if someone is too busy with work,
Okay. What
too
are
busy
the
being selfless?
implications of not taking care of one's mental health? Okay. Just like when you have high blood, no? Na hindi mo inaalagaan ng sarili mo. Or when you have asthma, na hindi mo rin inaayos. It's also just like that when you have problems with your mind, no? Kasi all aspects of medical problems, actually pare-pareho lang sila, no? Nagkataon lang na problema sa pag-iisip, problema sa katawan, problema sa overall. Ang problema lang na, for example, kung both, no? Like may medical ka, tapos may psychiatric problem ka or may substance problem ka. So, nakikita natin sa mga pasyente natin na there are a lot of medical conditions then that are connected. Once you use drugs, once you have problems with, handling, no, your vices, naiiba kasi ang mangyayari. So for me, it is very important that if you take good care of your body or of yourself, you also have to take good care of your mind kasi there is no health without mental health. 'Di ba? Lalo na ngayon sa pandemic na ang sabi doon sa pag-aaral ng Harvard na yung pandemic na to can cause a lot of tsunami of medical problems such as anxiety, depression, and isa pa doon na substance disorders and the violence among the family members at saka post-traumatic stress disorder. So, importante din talaga na napaka halaga, no, ang pag-aalaga ng ating kaisipan.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctora. For those in the audience who are not familiar with that handsome guy who just appeared on your screens, that is none other than Guillermo Gomez. He is our senior program director of all our facilities across the country. So Kuya Gimo, as we call him, has gone through our program himself, and we are very proud of who he has become. Even if I was already proud of him even before he became our senior program director. So, Kuya Gimo, thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to pick on your experience now. What is your experience? Can you share with our audience what is substance use disorder? Is this a real medical disorder or is it just in people's imaginations?
Before I answer that, Kuya Dean, I'm so happy to see you and Dr. Arcena. And hello, and Kuya Dean,
Hi.
and I am so proud of being your friend also, Kuya Dean. It's not just you being proud of me. And Dr. Arcena also is such a big help, a big support also to me. And going to your question, Kuya Dean, substance use disorder, no, I don't think it's that's how I used to think of it since I am recovering. I used to think it was just, something wrong that I did. I never really took into value that there would be science into such a diagnosis. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually saying, the person uh, got to try a substance and the brain is actually attracted to it. So yes, there is a disorder to it. There is a scientific explanation. It has been defined as a mental illness. It is a form, I believe, right, Doc?
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean, can we?
I
I'm
would
not
agree.
ashamed to admit that to myself. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I joke people and I ask, um, "Is it obvious?" And then they're all laughing. Is it
Don't
obvious?
worry. Don't worry. You can be mistaken by an artista. And boss Dean can be mistaken also by being a character actor.
Character.
I like
Oh,
it the
diba?
other way around. I want to be the character actor. But anyway, when they say it's not obvious, what I always go, well, you don't see me 24 hours a day. You don't see me under pressure. You don't see me under
Yeah,
pressure. And I'm sure if you give me 3 or 4 or 6 problems simultaneously, I think you'll see parts of the diagnosis they'll start to come out, I'm sure. Of course, since I'm aware of it and I accept it, I've seen videos of it. Thanks to the likes of Kuya Dean, Kuya John, Kuya Benjo that were so supportive. They sent me to study addiction, and the deeper I got into it, the more I understood it, especially from probably how Doc sees it. That's when I really got to accept it, and I was able to make an informed choice uh, to take the necessary steps to protect myself from myself.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to tell our audience na it's a disorder. So, no blaming. What I mean is, nobody should be left behind in trying to take care of patients. For me, it is very important that we know ano ba talaga ang substance use disorder. What is it, di ba? What are we driving at? Before kasi, um, the substance abuse and the substance dependence are separate. Ngayon, for DSM-5 diagnosis, isinama na silang dalawa.
Correct.
So, parang wala na siyang segregation. Anyway, sabi ni DSM-5 no ng American Psychiatric Association, pareho lang 'yan. Okay? So, for when you say substance use disorder, nandun din yung mga symptoms ng dependence and abuse, no. It does not happen overnight. Okay? It is something that we have to deal with. At times, medyo dinideny natin na may problema. Sometimes we would tell ourselves na, ay hindi, walang sakit yan. Okay? I'd like to open our minds na it's nobody's fault. All right. A substance, once it kicks in into the brain, it's like a bomb. It's there eh. Umiikot lang siya. You just imagine na merong bomb sa ulo. At once na mayroong triggers, then it can, it can explode. And that's how it is, no? Um, ang problem natin ngayon is that there is a lot of stigma when it comes to patients being placed in a rehab or a
Yeah.
patient labeled as baliw, labeled as drug addict, label, ay, hindi na magbabago yan. Di ba yung sabi niya, once an addict, always an addict. I
Well,
don't
even
believe that.
even the rehab center itself, doc, actually, is stigmatized. Kasi, "Uy, lugar ng baliw yan," you know? Which is, I vehemently really detest those statements. But then what can I do? It is like you say, doc, a stigma.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
it is.
stigma. And Boss Dean and Chimo, that stigma is not only here in our country, okay? Most Asian countries ang taas ng stigma. Well, in the US, kasi parang part na kasi ng system nila ang magkaroon ng shrink, no? Parang family doctor na ang isang psychiatrist. Here, well, we are improving and
Yeah.
uh, our facility are bridges of hope, meaning bridging hope for those who seem like wala na, no? Or they term it as durugista yan eh, di ba? Parang ganon. So, I don't
Mhm.
believe that. I
Yeah.
don't believe
Okay.
that. For me, look at you, di ba, Gimo? You are very open to everything and I'm happy with that because people will look up to you and will instill hope na, oh, okay naman pala eh. As long as there are a lot of factors, mamaya pag-usapan natin.
Yes, doc. Definitely. Yeah. All
Thank you
those
very
triggers.
much, Doctora Kuya Gimo. It's always
Yes.
nice to get that perspective, no, from two professionals in the recovery industry. But I think we should also relate entitlement to behavioral disorders and mental health. So, Jimo, can you please start with it before handing it off to Doctora? What is this issue? This this thing we talk about very often when we talk about cases. What is entitlement when it comes to recovery?
Well, viewing it from an ordinary point of view of someone that's recovering, uh, automatically, probably, if you put me in a group therapy session with someone that feels entitled to many things, then of course in my mind I'll say, okay, here comes self entitlement. Here comes the reward principle with this guy. I mean, of course he doesn't see it. I might have it too. In fact, well, actually, I do. I still do. I have it at moments. Um, and from the point of view, probably, of someone rigid in the therapeutic community perspective, it would be plain arrogance. But somebody probably that would be schooled with other modalities like 12 steps of recovery, and then, well, Bridges of Hope is a hybrid. It goes into TC, yes, for its structure, but it has the 12-step mentality as well, especially when we go into the second and the third phases. And that's where self-entitlement can really be identified once you absorb, the steps. Even if you go like step 1, step 2, until step 3, when there's a higher power coming in, definitely, um, one can spot self-entitlement. I think it really begins with denial, don't you think, Doc? I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, if you deny, if you're in step 0 or step -1, as I would say, although it doesn't exist in the books, it's just in my mind. I call it step -1 because step 0 is much better. At least somebody's thinking in step 0. But someone in denial after, you know putting that substance in her or his body,
Mhm.
and then acquiring SUD, the disorder, and then affecting other people, and after affecting everybody else, still thinking that the world owes them a favor, then that's how I see
Mm-hmm.
self entitlement. I
Well,
mean,
I was looking,
yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah,
looking here about ano ba talaga ang entitlement, no? It's like you are self-serving and you will do whatever it takes to get what you wanted, even at the expense of other people. Dito din nakalagay that attention is a must. If you don't get it, you seek it with an attitude that you parang people you deserve, no? You deserve to be placed in the pedestal. But you know, Gimo, giving it a thought, no? Substances kasi can actually give you a sense of entitlement in the sense that parang ano kasi epekto kasi yan eh. The high, the euphoria
yeah.
of
It can amplify.
and at
Mhm.
the same time actually it is the opposite thing, meaning to say you have low self-esteem and the use of the drugs can actually lift you up in a different manner, in a erroneous manner.
I agree.
Mhm.
Erroneous manner in the sense that lahat ng mga insecurities mo nababaliktad. And with the use of the drugs, it gives you a sense, kaya nga sabi nila high eh,
Yes,
because
Lord.
everything is up. But
And
that is,
the brain remembers that, right? It doesn't let
It
go of
never
that
forgets
it
that.
is
memory.
It never
Yeah.
forgets.
exactly,
Oh,
Boss D, no? It is actually the effect of dopamine.
oh,
Dopamine can actually cause that parang ano, yung parang upsurge, no? Ng
yes, Lord.
delusions na you can do it, na until the point na you can become destructive. And
And
that's the
Doc,
problem.
yeah, I was gonna ask you also, no, for those listening, uh, this part wherein
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I go into this high to
Yeah.
mask my low self-esteem, my low self-confidence, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing with alcohol, right? I mean, if I'm suffering from low self-esteem and I take alcohol, even if it's a depressant, I suddenly become more verbally active. I suddenly have strength to verbalize my problems because of the substance. The question here being is, do I now acquire, the supposed higher self-esteem during the time that I'm high? Do I
Mhm.
acquire it when I start exiting, or when I reach that point wherein the substance is probably exiting my body? Eventually, after a time, do I acquire?
No.
Uh, okay.
Because it is delusional. Meaning to say, it is not true. Hindi siya totoo. Okay? So, lahat ng mga hindi mo nagagawa minsan sa real world, nagagawa mo kapag gumagamit ka. The problem is, mataas ang dopamine, it gives you a sense of high temporarily. And that's why sinasabi nila you have tolerance and withdrawal kasi you have to achieve and take more of the subs. Kasi nga hindi na kaya yung ganun na level. Okay? And not only that, the sense of high isn't there anymore. So, there is a connection between depression, anxiety, personality disorders with the use of any prohibited substances.
Substance.
Kahit alcohol,
Yeah.
no?
Mhm.
Even
Um,
legal substances. Yes.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, alam mo, alam ko madami magre-react nito, but don't you know that coffee is also one of those wherein it can abuse.
I know.
And
Coffee is the
smoking
number
and
one,
cigarettes.
number one
Pasensya na
psychoactive
po
drug.
Guilty ako dyan kasi coffee drinker din ako.
Guilty also. If I don't work out my coffee, and somebody asks me the wrong question in the middle of the workout, you will see an anger burst, which actually, Doc, it's good you brought that up.
I've experienced that from you, Kuya Jimo.
Dean was
But
saying
I'm
something.
so sorry. Please forgive me. But that's the disorder in action. You have witnessed it. No, well, okay. Problem is, Doc, because you mentioned, imagine that is a delusion. It's not true. These things that we're experiencing, or that I was experiencing at that time when I was taking, well, like I say in the seminars, the pusher even sometimes looks like Jesus Christ. So yeah, it is a delusion because
Yeah,
suddenly he appears with the substance and he saves the day. So that was
exactly.
yeah, it was in my case. But what if I do acquire the delusion when I
Well,
so when I sober up? That's the what they call substance. That's the substance triggered or substance induced psychosis that they
we
say.
yeah, we have
I mean, it goes that far, and and
yeah,
and then can it affect behavior later on, even if the person already, let's say, went through treatment?
yeah. Actually, substance induced psychosis can happen, no? And when I was a trainee at the National Center for Mental Health before, when we were assigned in the forensic, no, forensic section, na madaming mga homicide doon, parricide, no, na gumagamit ng shabu. Okay? Um, what I mean is, if it's too much that the body can bear and the mind can bear, then it can go into a delusional state. So we have what we term as psychotic, no? Disorder due to substance. We also have mood disorder, can
Yes.
be the feeling of being manic or feeling of being sad or
Yeah,
depressed
manic.
due to
Yeah,
substance. All right.
correct.
Kaya nga,
Yeah.
that's the reason why we have to fix everything. When patient is in our rehab center, the Bridges of Hope, that's the reason why they have to stay. Because parang ang ginagawa natin, nagre-rewiring tayo, inaayos natin yung kanilang day-to-day, na without the substance. Kasi sa sobrang connected, parang ginawa mo ng asawa ang substance such that you cannot get away from it eh. So there should be the physical what? Withdrawal from that substance and from the community.
Okay.
Kasi if not, you will still continue doing it. Mahirap siya.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Doc.
Doctora.
Yeah.
We have some questions that I think it would be very worthwhile to answer.
Okay.
My friend, all the way from Bataan, Andrew Waters, sent in a question, Doctora. I hope you can answer this. What advice can you give to codependents to manage their own mental health? And what strategies can they use to support their loved ones in the short and long term? This is from Andrew Waters from Bataan. Go ahead, Doctora.
Doc, could you hear?
No.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the question?
Actually, it's below. I don't know if you could see it. It says, "Dear doctor, what advice can you give to codependents to manage their own mental health? And what strategies they can use to support their loved ones in the short and long term?"
Codependence means a
Well,
partner
the loved
or
ones, the
a
loved ones,
family member of a
yeah,
loved
family
one.
members, correct.
Well,
Yeah.
first and foremost, you have to admit that it's not that easy. And there are a lot of things that you also have to change for yourself first, no? So you focus on the one who is caring for the patient. There are a lot of things that you have to adjust. And and also I would like to emphasize that self-care is very important also for the codependent or for the loved one. Make sure that you are okay. So one of your question would be, how can I be okay if it's not okay, right? How can you be okay? Of course you're not okay, but since you know that you have better coping skills, that your strength is better than that of the patient, then make that strength be your what? Your guide. It's really hard, but you have to be what? You have to comply. You have to comply with whatever, the experts, no? Like in the
Yeah.
rehab or facilitators are, there should be a good connection between us and the family. There's no fight here. We have to stay connected. We have to understand each other. Yes, we have our flaws. Everyone is flawed. We have our weaknesses. Yeah, we have. But we have to start from scratch. We have to start believing in ourselves that we can do it. We have to start believing in the rehab center that they can do something about it. And you have to strengthen first yourself because the your journey isn't really that easy. It's really very difficult. And at times, we at the Bridges of Hope would have family meetings, right, Gimo and Boss Dean? We have our meetings to connect, to know what we can do. Pave the way. We may not have all the answers as we have always tell everyone, but we can give you some structure so that the patient will feel better and will believe in himself.
And
Thank
Doc,
you.
there's a possibility, right, that being a codependent, you like let's say usually I see it after they committed their loved one into the process, sudden
Mm-hmm.
sudden there's a possibility that there's depression, right, on their side, but they can't do it. Yeah.
That's why I wanted the family to be stronger because that's where the patient will also become stronger. You know why? Because it's so hard eh. It's so hard to lose control over a substance, depend on alcohol, depend on marijuana, depend on shabu. Well, I would always tell some of our patients, hey, you have the power. You have the power to move mountains. You have the power to change your life. Why going to shabu or why going to marijuana? It's just temporary. And it will affect your mind permanently. So if you're a 20-year-old who uses marijuana and shabu, your brain will be 10 years older or 20 years older. Okay? So that is the problem because the substance can eat you up, can eat your mind, can eat your body, can increase more of your medical problems, can make you become diabetic, can make you become what? Hypertensive, and you can be prone to heart attacks and strokes. So, for me, it is important that you take good care of your mental health.
Okay. Thank you, Doctora. Thank you very much. I hope, Andrew, that answers your question. Bridges of Hope can help refer you to some family therapists to help you if you so wish. I'd like to take this chance now to say hello to many of our audience people.
I
No,
can't hear,
Gio
Boston.
Fuentes, Fight the Stigma. Thank you so much for watching. Michael Bartolome, hello. Leo from Cebu. Kuya Benjo Bernabe, our president. The Bridges of Hope live team, we are thrilled that you are watching. Thank you very much. Pasi Mikey, good evening. Um, Kuya Rino, Ate Gay Heredia Pineda, I love you so much for always supporting our efforts. And Miss Duo Fu, please, you can call 0917-509-8826 to answer some of your legal questions about sending someone into rehabilitation for addiction. Um, Doctora Gimo, you've already answered a good question from Gio Fuentes. What have you personally observed to be the most common comorbidities with substance use disorder? Um, but can we quickly touch on this? What are the comorbidities to SUD from your experience? Go ahead.
Well, in my personal point of view, I see a lot of relationship disorders go on. You know, that would be comorbid really with drug use. Even sexual disorders follow after that. Other stuff that can follow would be gambling, womanizing. Uh, of course, uh, again, I'll go back. It's relationship problems. I could also see financial problems going along with substance use disorder. I don't know if Doctora can see other more clinical terms when it comes to comorbidities with substance use. I'm sure there's a lot. Doc, you could hear.
You can turn it over now to Doctora for her reply to the comorbidities question. Go ahead, Doctora.
I think Doc can't hear us with
Well, I
regards
guess
to
that
that.
needs more time for us.
Okay. What
Yeah, there.
are the comorbidities of substance use disorder?
Yes, Doctora.
Um, Depression, anxiety, and personality disorders are the three comorbidities of a substance use disorder.
There you go. Those are the
Actually,
clinical terms.
it's not like just you wanted to take alcohol or you wanted to take marijuana. It's not like that. There are a lot of other factors that can contribute to the use of a substance. It's something wherein it's not like you like the taste, or of course the initial was that you're curious, you have peer pressure. There are a lot of factors that you make it as a outlet. But if you continue the use of the substance because you wanted to lessen your lungkot, or you want to lessen your worries, or you tried to back it off with something, then there you go, the dependence of the use of the substance.
Thank you, Doctora. Hello to Cassie Duazo. Hello, Mayette from Quezon City. And Monica from Pampanga. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, PJ from BF, PJ Hilario. There are many other things that we would like to touch on today. What are the options for families who observe or have confirmed that someone is having some kind of mental health problem? What are the what is the intermediate step, what is the moderate step, and what is the expert or heavy step that they can take? What are the steps that a family who has noticed mental issues with a loved one, what can they do right now today? Gimo, what do you think?
I would go for an evaluation or an assessment. I wouldn't probably put weight on hearsay or people who try to evaluate that and they are not like doctora in a way or are not qualified. I would rather go probably to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or an addictions professional if there were any substances used in the past. But if it's just plain mental health, going to doctora wouldn't be a bad idea, to a psychiatrist.
Okay.
That would, yeah, for an assessment or a checkup. It's just that again,
Question.
yeah, there we go
uh,
with stigma. That's the only thing. We end up with stigma. If I go to a psychiatrist, they might think I'm crazy. But I mean, everything has already been made easier for people to understand and to destroy the stigma. The term mental health itself should destigmatize it already. Uh, Everybody in this world now actually has a diagnosis. I mean, I'm even surprised when back in the 90s, kids were not diagnosed to have ADHD or ADD. I know people now in their 40s and in their 50s going to a psychiatrist to have themselves assessed because we didn't have this when we were younger.
That's true. We had no options.
None.
We
I
had to
mean,
we had to suck it up.
exactly. And our poor parents had to make their own diagnosis.
Anak,
That's how I saw it that time, and it's subject to their interpretation. So
Right.
yeah,
The options are broader now. And it helps a lot that people are also broad-minded about seeking treatment. The thing is with mental issues, Kuya Gimo and Doctora Babes, is that when we have a headache, we take a pill for it. When we break our leg, we put it in a cast. But when we feel sad or defeated or simply spaced out, this is something that we're expected to just shake off without really dealing with it. It's more of an avoidance. We're taught to avoid it, to ignore it.
correct, correct.
So, but the more we ignore it, the more it festers inside of us. And people
Yeah,
ask me why I buy so many books. Why do you keep reading so many things? Because apparently that is how I treat certain things that I don't know how to handle. And I'm learning to handle it better because I have been exposed, luckily, to other people seeking treatment. And of course, with the therapies provided at Bridges of Hope, I've learned many ways of coping and handling and attacking some of the things that are making me sad or some of the things that are making me feel spaced out. I am worth the effort to actually try to find how to build up my self esteem. It's worth the effort, the trial and error to try to find out what lifts me up naturally in the morning or throughout the day. And it was also, Kuya Jimo, a big effort on my part to try to find my triggers, the triggers that made me feel sad, the triggers that made me feel inferior. Um, by identifying them actively, not only do I first have to avoid them, but eventually I had to realize na I don't need less of it, I need more of it. I needed more of my triggers so that I could better handle these anxiety inducing situations or even anxiety inducing people, or in my case sometimes simple words can ruin my entire day or even my entire week. And my mom has pointed out that sometimes it's even just the tone. The words were okay, but the tone in which it was said,
yeah.
I would tend to feed, I would instill so much meaning into it that it would affect my entire week. So it was a task. It was a task. And I realized I thought it was just tampo or too sensitive, but hey, now we've got a term for it. Mental health. That's all part of it.
But
and
and go, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, and I had a hard time realizing that I had to take care of it myself and that nobody could do it for me. Nobody could adjust the world for me so that I could feel better about myself. No one could step aside or move forward or lift me up without me doing it first. So, like we've always mentioned before, emotions cannot be measured. It's hard to describe your emotions when you're trying to share it with someone. But the emotions that you feel, this is your reality. You shape your reality because of your emotions. And your emotions are your reality. You can't move away from it. So instead of trying to escape from it, there has to be this acknowledgement that you have to manage it. You have to learn to control it or at least jump from it to a better place. But no one else can do it for you. Just like we at work, all we can do is point people in the right direction and keep nudging them, pushing them, reminding them. But in the end, it's still up to that person to get up and move and do something. So that's all I have to say about that for now.
one thing though related to what you were sharing is um, the problem of overthinking it also. Since we live in this time wherein Dr. Google plays so much of a role with so many people. And yeah, and Dr. Google gets in the way, huh? Um, so does Doctora YouTube. And so I mean it gets in the way. And yeah, it's true we're not discrediting those sources of information, but then again, um, like just a while ago, I'll give you a perfect example, Kuya Dean. When you were talking and you were expressing your experience and how you see things and what you've learned, in observing yourself. No, now that you've been observing yourself, I think more vigilantly, especially that you've gotten yourself involved, no, in the treatment of others. Um, just a while ago, actually, I noticed myself fixing my hair while looking at the camera. And and I also catch myself judging other people. Hey, this guy's suffering from a narcissistic personality disorder, because why is he fixing his hair
Hair.
in the middle of a talk show? So, oh my god, I have NPD. So you know no, that's the thing. You see, when there's too much information and you don't have that necessary balance and experience to manage the information in such a way that you don't end up misjudging people and misplacing, whatever personal opinion or diagnosis that one may have, so that you don't affect the life of this person. You have to give it to a professional. You have to give it to someone that's experienced,
Right.
someone that's been at it. And and then probably check on it. You can go back to Dr. Google and then achieve that balance. Yeah.
Right.
It's no different from judging, a process, judging a program. Yeah. Actually, I see some comments here, and it's very interesting. I mean, there's one here saying, what if you get the yeah, talking about ADHD, some people are prescribed desoxin,
The toxin.
which is a methamphetamine. That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Like Ritalin. Ritalin is one of the oldest medications, that actually have methamphetamine components in it.
I'll have to
If you look
mention
at the
though, Kuya Jimo, those are highly
yeah,
controlled substances, even in the
correct,
Philippines. Yeah. But go
correct.
ahead.
But the
Go ahead.
common sense of it is these four or five categories in pharmacology of medication. You have the stimulants, you have the depressants, you have the opioids, where the barbiturates are, and then you have the hallucinogens. That's the fourth. And then the mystery substance, which is so controversial the last 5 years, is cannabis sativa, which is marijuana, because it has no classification amongst the four. So if you go into methamphetamine, which is a stimulant is used to treat somebody suffering from probably um, someone that got an overdose on opioids. Same thing. You have an opioid based stimulant medication. It can be synthesized, it can be organic, and that's what will be treated to the person that suffered an overdose from the stimulants.
Right.
So one treats the other. Okay, just to address that. Now, of- again, we have to go to balancing. Okay, it's okay. Go ahead, read Dr. Google. Go ahead, go to YouTube, research. This is the age. We've never had this 20 years ago. Go ahead, I encourage that. But balance it off with someone that's gone through something. Balance it off with a team of people that have been addressing it for a while. And
Mhm.
that are accompanied by professionals like Doctora. Actually,
Mhm.
if I was gonna go to that conversation with SUD, and then that's why I was asking also Doctora a while ago, if you could actually acquire, the delusion supposedly. My next question was, if you could acquire, like narcissism, can you acquire it from having a long experience with drugs?
Right.
Can
Right.
you acquire a mood disorder from
Mm-mm.
being too long with meth
Mm-mm.
and experiencing that mania going up and down for so many years? Because imagine I'm sleeping 3 days and then I'm awake 7 days, and then
Mm-mm.
later I'm sleeping again 3 days. So I mean, that's what my mind and my heart are used to, especially if I'm a functional addict.
Right.
Actually, I think that should be our next. That should be our next
We have just
uh,
identified the next
topic.
topic for the next episode.
Yeah, functionality under substances.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we should go there too. Yeah,
yeah, we'll plan
but
that,
that,
Kuya
that was
Gimo.
my next question. Actually, can is that actually, can you really acquire all these disorders from the substance itself, or was there really a prevailing condition with the patient plus the substance use that has to cause the disorder? Yeah.
That is always a discussion that goes late into the night. Were the conditions there for drug addiction, or did the drug addiction actually cause the conditions that were evident after the addiction took hold of that person? I would
Correct.
like to think that they, of course, this is all this is for discussion purposes. They fell into addiction because they had these conditions, emotional issues, mental issues, thinking that substance abuse would be the solution. In the end, it provided no sort of solution in any shape or form and only exacerbated the existing problems that they had, whether
And
it
Kuya
be
Tin,
depression
I'm
or
sorry to cut you there, but actually, our topic of self entitlement inserts itself right there in that statement.
perfect.
Because putting the substance in somebody else's body, I really believe it's a natural human reaction to self medicate. You want to get well, eh? No, but the thing is, your choice of substance suddenly the decision making there is hampered if there is this memory of the pleasure of that substance that accompanies the decision making. So manipulation comes in, and I am now entitled to choose my substance.
That's right.
And if my behavior changes and you notice it, it does not apply to me, excuse me, so I am offended.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
am
that is,
again offended that
yeah, how
that you're
dare you
trying to
judge
apply it to
me.
me.
How dare
How
you
dare
judge me
you?
when you probably have even contributed to this? Imagine, that's the first contradiction of the day. Suddenly, I accuse you of judging me, and then I agree with your prognosis by saying that maybe you caused it. So imagine, right then and there is a contradiction. But then, of course, it's so hard to fight somebody recovering that's probably took 2 nights in a row of we don't know what, or maybe just one
Kuya
afternoon.
Gimo, those contradictions perpetuate the cycle of negativity and blame, and I'm not responsible for what's happening to my life. Those
And my
contradictions
entitlement.
fuel the circle of blaming everybody else except the person responsible for his own life. It's
Because
that
it does not
cycle.
apply to me.
It does not apply to me.
And if it
That should
so
be the
happens
title of
that
our
you
episode.
do get to point, you know, a certain angle wherein I cannot dispute that suddenly, yes, I am arrogant. Yes, I am suffering from this self entitlement. It is you who caused it, not
I
me.
like the way you I like the way you went closer to the camera to say that it is you who caused it. I like that effect.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's fine. We'll say hi to
I am
Carla
just
as
mirroring with
well.
my own behavior.
I appreciate your deep sharing there. Let's say hi to Carla Canwell. Hello, Carla. I don't know if you're in Metro Manila, but hi. Kuya Gerard Madarang, hello from Cebu. And Andrew Waters says thank you. Cassie Duazo, thank you so much for joining us. There are other things, Kuya Gimo, that I wanted to discuss together with Doctora. However, I think we're experiencing some technical gremlins tonight, not just with the audio, but now with the video. Um, we've been going on for about an hour now. I would like to take this chance to mention all the centers of Bridges of Hope across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Bridges of Hope is the leading substance use and behavioral disorder treatment center in the country today. We have 7 branches across the country. You can call 0917-509-8826 any time of the day for more information about what we can offer you. And we also have a very modern, very informative website, bridgesofhope.com.ph. We have 7 centers across the country. Our treatment centers are in BF Homes, Parañaque, Mariposa Street, Quezon City, Mandaue City, Cebu. We also have in Angeles City, Pampanga, Lipa City, Batangas, Binangonan, Rizal, and in Los Baños, Laguna. So please feel free to call our helpline 0917-509-8826. And if you're too shy to make a call, if you're too shy to send a message in our Bridges of Hope website, the Facebook page of Bridges of Hope is very updated and active. If you want to send a message there or simply read through the many articles that we hope will educate you and help strengthen you to make the right decision, they're all there available to the public. You can look at it at your free time before you go to bed tomorrow or during lunch break while at work or even outside of your lunch break while you're working. So Bridges of Hope is active on Facebook. We have our own website and of course our hotline. Please feel free to call anytime. Now, Kuya Gimo, I don't know if Doctora Babes can hear me, but I think it's time for our closing remarks. It is National Mental Health Month, but we've touched on such a broad spectrum of topics outside of strictly mental health, which I don't mind because everybody watching just wants to get as much information as they can. So, any parting words, Kuya Gimo, to our audience from across the country?
Well, again, like someone was saying a while ago, fight the stigma. Today,
Fight.
I hope we are not misunderstood. We were merely identifying a, how do we say, a comorbid factor of substance use disorder, which is self-entitlement. you know, um, what is self-entitlement? I mean, how does it go? How does it work? We were just identifying it. We're not saying that everybody is suffering from this and nobody now has the right to raise their own chair and let's all dwell and wallow in our low self-esteem and low self-confidence. No, I'm not saying that. We just want to talk about how to identify it properly. Probably also what would be the difference between that and real arrogance or real denial,
Mhm.
and real pride. Just like pride, there is a good kind of pride, and there's a negative kind of pride. So objectivity is something I learned in Bridges of Hope. Um, we're actually transcending through two modalities. We are a process in motion. We are still actually trying to reach our goal, with
Right.
with the hybrid format that we're going. Now that COVID hit us, I believe we are doing well, transcending also with the new normal. We've been adopting, and of course, I'm not saying we're perfect and we don't have loopholes. Uh, However, I believe uh, our focus on the quality of the treatment has never wavered. Has never wavered. We talk amongst ourselves. The mere fact that we're talking amongst ourselves here, well, again, we might be misdiagnosed as narcissists, you know, as it is just appeared.
Hi.
I
Hi,
know
Hi,
for a
boss.
fact
Doctora.
here.
My gosh. It's only now.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I can hear you, boss, din now.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank God.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Doctora,
yeah.
I wanted. Sorry, go ahead, Gimo. Finish
Go ahead.
your statement.
Well, yeah, no, it's good Doctora came because like Doctora missed my talk on Doctor Google and Doctora
I
YouTube.
heard that, but
But you
I
disappeared.
heard that, but I couldn't my
You
I don't
couldn't
know.
react. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I
So
know.
yeah, I just wanted to talk about how Bridges of Hope tries its best to be non-judgmental in and out, whether externally towards the families, internally towards its residents. We try our best, and although sometimes probably just because we didn't touch base on something, it could be
Yeah.
misjudged or misinterpreted. And again, we're not saying we're not perfect, but we listen. We listen. We also listen to our clients, and we,
Actually,
we learn a lot from our clients. Yeah, and
Actually, this
yeah,
is not a perfect world, Chimo and Boss
yeah,
Dean. Even our audio and our connections are not perfect. But I'm happy I can hear you, Boss Dean.
It's all part of dealing with difficult
I'm
situations and
I'm just
unexpected.
happy that I've seen you again. And then yun nga lang I missed the other parts, but anyhow, perhaps one time I can do more. I just wanted to let everyone know that the Bridges of Hope is one of the best, facilities that I've ever been because of what we we have a heart to
thank you, Doc.
listen, to talk. These are things that are not being talked about in malls, in chismisan, di ba? We we do not talk
Chismisan.
about this. But madami magchichismis sa inyo o galing sa rehab yan. Okay? Just to let you know, this is the real world. The real world now is it's pandemic. Anong gagawin natin? Inuman na lang tayo.
Chismis.
Netflix naman, di ba?
Oo nga.
Oo, and I see that also with doctors. Okay? We are all frontliners and we have to do something.
Yeah,
We have to have an
yeah.
outlet. And for me, the best outlet here is just to connect with your good friends. No, good friends means good connections, people that make you feel positive. Kanina kasi
Responsible
we
people,
have a talk with
supportive.
we
Yeah,
have a talk with Francis Kong kanina sa St. Luke's Medical Center, and he emphasized about being productive and you have to keep moving because if you stop moving and work for betterment of yourself, mawawala yung trend mo in going up because the pandemic is here to stay, Boss Dean and Gimo. It's here to
Yes.
stay for quite some time. And while at the same time we are, taking care of our patients and also the family members, I'd like to say that I'm proud of you guys for taking care of our what? Of our patients, of our residents who would like what? To change for the better. So para sa akin, hanga ako dun.
yes, Doc. And
Thank you.
hanga din ako, I admire our residents, actually.
Yes, everyone.
How they have been handling it. I mean, with what's happening in the world now, and I'm even surprised with some new ones. Boy, that is one thing that Bridges of Hope is blessed with. The quality of its
Yeah.
community.
I
Which is
also,
which is probably what one family does not know from the other. They probably don't know that yet, especially now because of this new normal. We don't have
yeah,
these face-to-face meetings, but that's one thing I can guarantee: the quality of the community of Bridges of Hope inside.
yeah.
It's really nice. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Boss Dean and Shimo, and we also we take good care of our patients that prior to them be admitted, we have Dr. Mark Mandarang to help us with the medical, meaning to say we work hand in hand, we are together,
I
and
love Dr. Matarang.
of course the lovely wife, Dr. Chona, our
Yes, I
partners
love
in
Dr.
crime
Chona
for
also.
taking care of our patients. No, there are times that I just like to tell you a little story, just konti lang, that we doctors we didn't see this coming, that we can also be affected by COVID-19. And mind you, when we go to the hospitals to see our patients, at times parang naiiyak na ako Parang sinasabi ko, hanggang kailan to? Hanggang saan tayo? Umiiyak yung pamilya. Anong mangyayari? May namamatay. Di ba mga ganun na mga bagay? Things that we are not what? We are not prepared for this. But after several months of having this, we just have to gain acceptance of everything and move on. Meaning to say, We also have to watch our proper decorum, na yung washing of hands and everything to protect ourselves. So, hindi pa tapos ang laban. We're still fighting it. And I just would
Correct.
like also to salute our family members for still continuing the fight to help our patients to continue their change in lives, no? And also, plus the fact that I would also like to thank our co-frontliners, tayong mga kasama natin, nurses, ang ating mga FASI, ang ating program directors and our bosses, no, for for continuing the fight despite the challenges.
And
Doctora,
for
thank you
being
so much.
hands-on.
You are a healthcare worker together with Dr. Mark Madarang, Dr. Evelyn Go,
Yeah,
our nurses, our facilitators, even our guards. I consider them as frontliners. Uh, Gimo and my co-directors, Kuya John, Kuya Benjo, Kuya Carlo, we all face our
mm-mm.
residents, our families. Uh, uh, we're still continuing the work. The pandemic has
Yeah,
actually it's impeding us, but it is not stopping us completely. The work has to continue,
yeah,
and we've always found ways to try to go around, uh, try to continue the work while maintaining all the strictest protection protocols that we promise the families who have entrusted their loved ones into our care. We have to take care of our residents because this is part of our promise to the families who entrusted us
yeah,
to take care of their loved ones, not just for recovery, but also for general health. So thank you, Doctora, as one of the premier healthcare workers and frontliners of the Bridges of Hope family. Thank you to you and all your other colleagues in the medical profession. Now, I think Dr. Mark Madarang is actually here. And very quickly, Gimo, Doctora, Kuya Gimo, can we answer Dr. Madarang's quick question? How does functional medicine work?
Addiction. He's asking
functional.
about functional addiction.
I'm sorry, functional addiction pala.
Yeah.
How does functional addiction work?
It's all,
Yeah,
well,
functional
I don't know
addiction.
how Doctora will answer it, but for me, that's the next topic. And it's yeah, that's the next show. And it's all rooted to the theory of manageability. Take note,
Manageability.
it's a theory. And theories are not really proven. So a
How can
lot of
we prove it unless we try it? You know, all
yeah,
theories
and
are theories until they are proven.
I do not encourage you, Kuya Dean, to try it like I did. So please do not. Yes.
Doctora, very quickly, what can you say about functional addiction?
Well, I'm not so sure if I get it right. The functional, how does the functional addiction work? No, is it going back into what he was before the
It's like,
dependency?
well, Doctora, it's like me. I used to believe that as long as I don't bother anybody else and I can still stand up to my priorities and responsibilities, like when I say, oh, I can still pay for the tuition fee of my kids, I can still wake up at 7 in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, go to work,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
I support people in the house. I don't steal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't fool people. I'm probably lying, but I don't fool people. So imagine that line, that thin line. That means I again am entitled to reward myself and take substances because I am not affected and I do not affect other people. So is there a problem?
There
None
is.
in my
There
mind.
is.
Remember, I believe I'm functional and I am now living the theory of manageability. I can manage it.
Well, the
So
answer is
now we have
no.
we have more topics for succeeding episodes, Kuya Jimo and Doctora Babes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That.
that would be the next topic I was hoping because it's going to go long into the night as Dean Kuya Dean had said. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I think our time has come to an end together for this episode. I would like to thank so much Kuya Gimo, Senior Program Director of Bridges of Hope as a whole, and of course, Dr. Babes Manalo, for gracing our episode 5 of Bridges of Hope Live. Thank you for taking the time out and sharing your experience and knowledge with me and our captive audience from across the country. We're very grateful for sharing your time and knowledge with us. So please tune in next time for the next episode of Bridges of Hope Live. We will be sure to address the technical issues before we go on air so that we can better appreciate the show. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Kuya Jimo. Thank you, Dr. Babes. I hope
Thank you
everyone
so
watching
much.
will stay protected, stay healthy. Let's continue to take care of one another. Good night,
Thank you, Kuya
everybody.
Dean. Thank
Good
you, Kuya Dean. Thank you,
night. Thank you
Kuyas, and
so
everybody out
much.
there.
Stay
Everyone,
safe.
love you guys. Bye.
Stay safe.